that Blake Lively has told people that there were multiple reasons that Justin Baldoni made her feel uncomfortable. It's a feminist buzzword. Uncomfortable on set. Blake beefing with her co-stars is a very common thing. And this is it. It's whiny, it's bratty, and it needs to end. Well, if it isn't the consequences of my...
Blake has carefully built an image of perfection, America's sweetheart, an ideal wife, and a devoted mother. However, since controversy surrounding Blake Lively surfaced a few months ago, Candace Owens has been scrutinizing every detail, determined to uncover the real story.
I've not seen a case so open and shut in my life, and the more that I read and the more details that I get into, because I've been working on my timeline, I'm just shocked at how many lies were told.
Now that she has the proof to support her claims, Blake is feeling the pressure. The facade has been lifted, and what Candace just revealed might shift everything. Stay tuned as we break it all down. You won't want to miss this. Blake Lively has long been Hollywood's golden girl, poised, charismatic, and seemingly untouchable. But Candace Owens has uncovered a story that could change that perception. While the public was still piecing together the speculation, Candace found something far more strategic. Even before the controversy made its way to the New York Times, Blake was already working behind the scenes.
I think we may have cracked the mystery, or at least we established a very crucial part of the puzzle, which I am told by Taylor Swift's team, or I guess not by her team, but like Taylor Swift's team tried to bury what I'm about to show you on
3. Unlike the narrative being presented, this wasn't just a reaction to disrespect. Blake was planning her approach from the start. And her focus? None other than Justin Baldoni. Candace Owens carefully pieced together the timeline, and now that the bigger picture is clear, there's no avoiding the truth.
That there is proof that the New York Times began working on the article even earlier, potentially back in October of 2024. So
Blake believed she had everything under control, but the evidence tells a different story, one that has her scrambling. Now, her team is working around the clock to reshape the narrative. They're steering attention away from her strategic moves, discreet negotiations, and how she positioned herself in Justin Baldoni's project. Instead, they want the public to see her as the victim.
Blake Lively's PR team wants us to know that everything that's happening right now is hurting Blake's feelings. And I don't know if you guys have paused to consider that Blake's feelings might be getting hurt in all of this. Well, if it isn't the consequences of my own...
This isn't the ultimate case of nepotism and star privilege. What is? Blake has spent her entire life enjoying the perks of Hollywood, supported by influence, backed by PR, and insulated from real fallout. But now, that safety net has vanished. The public is no longer swooning over her relationship with Ryan Reynolds.
They are anguished by the things that they did being found out by the public.
For the record, this isn't the kind of behavior you'd expect from someone who wasn't handed a life of privilege. Blake is used to having things go her way. And when they don't, cue the complaints. Old habits die hard. Candace may be speculating, but let's be honest, it's less of a wild theory and more of an informed assumption. The way this entire situation unfolded wasn't just a random occurrence. It was so meticulously planned that, had it worked, Justin Baldoni's name, career, and reputation would have been completely erased.
I really think that it was just a perfect act of evil that was almost executed in broad daylight, almost like a psychological...
And let's not pretend this would have been the first time Blake and Ryan played this game. The pattern is clear. They've done this before. They maintain the image of a picture-perfect couple in public while making calculated, ruthless moves behind the scenes. This isn't just about one mistake. It's a track record that's been hiding in plain sight, protected by their wholesome family persona. They've publicly targeted people before, yet no one spoke up. Why? Because their PR machine is that strong. But now, the cracks are starting to show, and Candace Owens just put it all under the spotlight. Here's what Ryan had to say about Justin at the Deadpool and Wolverine after party.
Wayfair was informed that Reynolds approached a senior executive at WME and expressed his deep disdain for Baldoni, going as far as to suggest that the agency is working with a predator.
While Ryan and Blake were up to their usual behind-the-scenes tactics, Candace revealed that this time, they may have pushed things too far, acting with a bit too much confidence and desperation.
Now, let's talk about Justin Baldoni's PR specialist, Jed Wallace. His firm, Street Relations Inc., is suing Blake Lively for defamation after she...
There's no denying it. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds are running out of options. The clock is ticking. And at this stage, all that's left is to watch them take a dose of the humility they've dished out to others for years. Intro 10, this entire situation began when a video surfaced showing Blake Lively being less than gracious toward multiple people, interviewers, colleagues, and even fans. But rather than taking responsibility, she did what many Hollywood elites do when faced with criticism. She reshaped the narrative to her advantage. Blake needed a distraction, and unfortunately for Justin Baldoni, he became the ideal scapegoat. She accused him of running a calculated PR campaign against her, throwing out bold claims to divert attention from her own actions.
Original filing, which was with the Californian Civil Rights Department, that complaint was supposed to be the only filing. It was the ultimate bad PR response to what they wrongly assumed.
But this wasn't just another Hollywood feud. It was far more damaging. People might have overlooked her, mean girl moments, or moved on from those resurfaced clips. But fabricating accusations in a way that diminishes real victims, that's not something anyone is willing to ignore. Justin's name was dragged into this, not because he was involved, but because they needed a scapegoat. And the worst part? This time, they did it openly. That civil complaint was exaggerated and stretched so far, they assumed no one would catch on. But people didn't.
I can tell you that this is now the 5th lawsuit associated with Blake versus Baldoni, and we're exhausted by it. Now, based on Justin's recent release of documents, an expert I spoke to says Blake will fold.
The goal was to file the complaint, get it picked up by the New York Times, and use it to take down Justin Baldoni. And who knows, Blake might have then quietly settled. Things behind the scenes. They're not just losing the PR battle, they're facing legal consequences for it. The situation has taken a serious turn as Blake's legal dispute with Baldoni intensifies. Crisis management expert Jed Wallace has now filed a defamation lawsuit against her. Wallace, the owner of PR firm Street Relations, submitted the suit in Texas federal court on February 4th, seeking $7 million in damages. The reason? Blake implicated him in her lawsuit against Baldoni, accusing him of fabricating social media content to tarnish her reputation. But Wallace isn't playing along with Hollywood's usual tactics. Instead, he's pushing back, demanding a court ruling to clear his name and prove he had no involvement in the situation Blake is attempting to blame him for. To provide full context, here's exactly what Blake said about Jed in her complaint.
Also retained subcontractors, including a Texas-based contractor named Jed Wallace, who weaponized a digital army around the country from New York to LA to create, seed, and promote content that appeared to be authentic on social media platforms and internet chat forums. The Baldoni Wayfarer team would then feed pieces of this manufactured
managers also enlisted subcontractors, including a Texas-based contractor named Jed Wallace, who allegedly mobilized a digital network spanning from New York to LA. This network was used to generate, distribute, and amplify content designed to appear organic across social media platforms and online forums. The Baldoni Wayfarer team would then take these strategically crafted narratives and circulate them further.
The lawsuit that she filed in New York 11 days later, and now all of a sudden you don't see Jed, okay? It was a pretty strong allegation you made about Jed in the CRD complaint. What happened in 11 days?
Now, Blake isn't just facing Baldoni. She's dealing with real legal repercussions, and from the looks of it, there's no easy way out. But here's the twist. When fans started calling her out for not taking the civil complaint. Seriously, she had no choice but to escalate things, filing a full-fledged lawsuit. Yet, when she did, Jed Wallace's name was suddenly absent, as if he had been erased from the story overnight, with the hope that no one would notice. But the damage was already done. His reputation had already been dragged through the mud, and now he's making sure she's held accountable.
Filed in New York 11 days later, and now all of a sudden you don't see Jed, okay? It was a pretty strong allegation you made about Jed in the CRD complaint. What happened in 11 days?
This is the same lawsuit she filed in New York just 11 days later, yet suddenly, Jed's name is nowhere to be found. That's quite a bold accusation to simply disappear. So what exactly changed in those 11 days?
He was mocked in the credits of his own movie, that he was mocked mercilessly, endlessly in Deadpool and Wolverine by A-list actors getting involved there. We know that Justin's colleagues and fellow actors on the film were then all invited to the premiere of Deadpool and Wolverine, so they watched him.
Wallace's lawsuit states that Lively later admitted she had no factual basis for her claims against Wallace or Street. Neither Wallace nor Street had any involvement in the alleged retaliation, failure to investigate, or claims of aiding and abetting harassment. Additionally, they couldn't have breached any contract with Lively because no such contract exists. Meanwhile, Blake's attorney Michael Goddell wasted no time responding to Wallace's lawsuit. In a statement to The Hollywood Reporter, he dismissed the claims as unfounded, downplaying the situation entirely. Another day, another lawsuit in yet another state, seeking 9 figures and attempting to sue Miss Lively into oblivion for speaking out against harassment and retaliation, said Lively's legal team, led by Goddell. This isn't just a publicity stunt, it's a clear act of retaliation in response to the allegations contained in the harassment and retaliation complaint that Miss Lively filed with the California Civil Rights Department. While this lawsuit will ultimately be dismissed, we are glad Mr. Wallace has stepped out of the shadows, as he too will now face accountability in federal court. But let's be honest, if Wallace's case had no merit, why was Blake so quick to remove his name from her own lawsuit? It's looking like damage control, and not the kind that works. Oh, and now it all clicks. At first, people thought Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool scene was just another offhand joke, right? But thanks to Candace Owens bringing receipts, it turns out that mocking Justin Baldoni wasn't just for laughs, it was an entire strategy. Right now, Blake is feeling the heat, and I don't know if anyone has stopped to consider that her feelings might be getting hurt in all of this. Well, if it isn't the consequences of her own actions. And after all that, sources from TMZ are now suggesting that Blake and Taylor have supposedly patched things up. Sure, sounds more like a PR cleanup than a genuine reconciliation. Taylor hasn't fully decided whether to cut ties with Blake completely or keep up appearances. And in Hollywood, it's always smart to prepare for every possibility. Leave it to Candace to expose these celebrities yet again. While Taylor is scrambling to distance herself from the controversy, sources close to Candace claim she wasn't just a passive observer. She was knee-deep in it before it even went public. The proof? Taylor's song was featured in Justin's movie long before this entire scandal unfolded. And here's where it gets interesting. Allegedly, in order for that song to be included, someone was fired. That's the claim being made, and Taylor has yet to address it. Apparently, she wasn't a fan of Brian Tyler, and during a meeting at Blake's New York City penthouse, Ryan Reynolds and an unnamed A-list friend, who, let's be honest, was obviously Taylor Swift, praised Blake's version of a key scene in the script. So, before this controversy exploded, Taylor was directly involved in those discussions. And we also know she hasn't been entirely truthful about what happened later. As the meeting wrapped up, she and another close friend of Reynolds and Lively entered the conversation, offering praise for Blake's script. The real question is, how much worse can't this get? Because at this point, it's looking like the beginning of the end. Let me know what you think in the comments. Is Blake finally getting what she deserves? Or will she find a way to spin this in her favor? And don't forget, hit that button, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because this saga is far from over, and trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next.